Good morning. It's Sunday, 8th of February 2015. Um, as many people will know, in parts of Australia and New Zealand, and in New Zealand the parts most affected are Auckland and Christchurch, there's simply not enough houses for people to live in. And that's for a number of reasons. Um, there was an earthquake and there was about 5,000 damaged houses or something, so there was many damaged houses. About 100,000 had damage, including like need a coat of paint damage. Um, but in some areas, there was like about 5,000 houses badly damaged. So the government says, all right, we'll buy 9,000 houses off people for bargain basement prices and take them out of circulation, get them demolished as fast as we can, because that's going to help push up property prices. Because of course, all the governments want to do is push up property prices. And we don't want to, like Detroit, where you can buy a house for a couple of $100. Oh, by golly, we don't want that, mate. Um, anyway, so you got people living in caravans and backyards and garages for years and years at a time, given it's taking, we're just coming up to 4 years now, so many people are still waiting for the repairs to their house, because there's actually in New Zealand no legal requirement to insurance companies to actually pay out in a timely manner. As long as they pay out eventually, that's their, they've done their legal duty. Anyway, here's a case. This was from the Monday newspaper of last week, so it was February the 2nd. The Christchurch Press, it's the only daily paper Christchurch has left. And I rescued the old paper at the end of the day from the tea room at work, the Press. And the story is a legal hovel could wind up. And basically guy in the Waltham area. So Waltham, it's sort of like a walking distance to the central city, if you don't know Christchurch. Guy had previously been running a car wreckers there. Oh, I see someone's cut a big piece out of the, obviously cut some story out, whatever they wanted. Ripped it out of the paper anyway, not on that page. And this is on the inside of page 2, so a bit of a picture there. We'll hold this one up a little bit. So the guy's got about, he was running a wrecker's yard, but it wasn't profitable. So how big an area he's got, I don't know. But it's zoned. I'll give you another pic while I'm talking. It's zoned, commercial, industrial. I'm guessing, well, to run a useful wrecker's yard, you'd have to have like an acre of land or something close to that, at least, if not a couple of acres. Of course, Waltham, there's a fair bit of housing in there too, because being close into the city, and again, it was once cheap housing, but there is now no cheap housing at all anywhere in Christchurch. Some is just less expensive than others. He's got about 20 people living on site. He said it started off as he was sort of winding down the wrecker's yard because it wasn't really economic, and had one person staying there in a caravan, and it sort of grew from there. Now he's got about 20 people. He's got a few portaloos there, a couple of shipping containers set up, one as a kitchen and one as a laundry or bathroom or something. He only takes male boarders or clients or flatmates, whatever you want to call them. He's got a real bad attitude towards them, but so he runs the place a bit like a jailer. But and obviously he's been doing this for several years. My point is, he charges them $140 a week, which times 20 means he's got $2,800 a week coming in. One assumes in cash and that he doesn't bother paying tax on it. Not until he got a front page story in the newspaper, I say. And he charges them an extra $20 a week for the electricity, which would almost certainly easily cover their electricity if they're only living in a caravan or a little shanty hut thing. Finally, he's been sprung by the council, and he actually says in here something about, well, he could delay getting shut down by just sort of appealing it and applying for various processes, knowing that they'll eventually get rejected, but during this sort of application and appeal process, I mean, there's 3 months, 6 months, a year gone there anyway. So it's sort of quite interesting. But he makes a point about where are these guys going to go, because he takes them in, out of prison or whatever. And there's somewhere in the story it mentions someone from the Salvation Army, emergency crisis accommodation centre thing, and they say if we're lucky, we've got 2 vacancies out of our 80-bed hostel or whatever. So that's sort of interesting. And yeah, I was going to do a second video, but it ties in with the same video. So I'm just going to step to one side. And now I'm back. Now I'm back. I was going to do this as a second video, but it ties in. Is it tonight? Tomorrow night? Tonight. On Television 1, TV New Zealand, TV 1. Where's our, here it is. At 7 o'clock, I think it is. 7:30. 7 o'clock. Whenever. This evening. Our First Home. Been advertised for a little while. So as we've already discussed, in several places, in Australia and New Zealand especially, but in Auckland and Christchurch especially, there's not enough houses. And there's a number of reasons that tie into that. It's to do with the price of building materials, it's to do with building consent costs and that kind of thing. It's to do with the fact that certainly before the earthquakes, the Christchurch City Council, for instance, just banned a whole lot of houses that complied with all regulations simply because they didn't like the look of them. And those houses were nearly half the price of other houses, and fully complied with all council regulations, but they were allowed to just say, we don't like the look of it, so we're banning it anyway, and we won't give you a permit to build it. But yeah, there's not enough houses for the people, and the houses that there are too expensive. So we have yet another frigging home improvement show where what they do is they're going to take some houses that already exist and splash a coat of paint on them and put them back on the market at a higher price. Now, I just happened to mention a place I used to live at many years ago. There was a scummy old, well, it wasn't even that scummy, but there was just an old building. It had been a community meeting hall, and it sold for $12,000, and somebody had been living in it. And anyway, it then got sold to someone else, and they bought it for like $12,000, and they put a coat of paint on it, and they sold it for $80,000. And yes, they put some nice kitchen cupboards in there, and yes, the council had complained that it didn't have, it wasn't an official dwelling house, so it had to have taps put in that could connect to a washing machine, and they put in a nice shower cubicle. And but just to get things clear, they didn't make another house available that hadn't previously been available. It's just a cheap house on a quarter acre of land, 1,000 metre square of land, livable with the electric, with the water on, that had been available for $12,000, became available at $80,000, and someone laughed all the way to the bank with piss running out of them as they were laughing all the way to the bank, with $68,000 bulging out of their back pocket, basically. So yeah, the problem isn't that we've got people, what we don't need to solve the problem isn't people going to the existing, whatever are the cheapest, poorest houses, poorest condition houses that the poorest people might buy or rent, and or certainly buy, and splashing a coat of paint on them. They're still fundamentally an old house. Generally speaking, they've still got 100-year-old wiring and 100-year-old piping and 100-year-old foundations, and all they've really had is a bit of paint, really, and we knock out a wall, we put in an extra wall, we put some pretty kitchen cabinets in the kitchen, and you're still basically buying the same place back, but at a greatly inflated price. And in this particular case, the twist, so to speak, on this show, they've got three couples, is that they've borrowed money from their parents to buy a first home that they don't intend to live in. They just intend to sell it for a profit and then use some of that profit to go in towards their deposit to get another home that perhaps they will live in the next one. TV1, you can take this TV program and you can shove it where the sun don't shine. How about giving us a TV show that shows people how to get secure tenure over accommodation, whether it's, a mud brick straw bale building house made of recyclables on community land, I don't know. But as they said in, I think, the very first Die Hard film, this isn't part of the solution, this is part of the problem. TV1, you're a pack of wankers. Piss off out of here. Anyway, so that's what's happening in New Zealand. And, yeah, there's still basically not enough houses for people to live in. Same old, same old. And the house prices just keep going up and up. And they're doing very little to try to reduce those sort of costs. So what can you do? I guess if enough people end up with tents pitched in local parks, the government might get off their fat ass and do something. Anyway, that's all for now. Actually, I've got stuff to do, and half a migraine. So I'm going to take my half a migraine and start to do something. See ya.